perpetual lamps that functioned indefinitely without oil or any product that was burned or consumed were apparently pretty universal in the ancient world. They have actually been found in underground tombs, vaults, and dwellings around the globe. Touching them was prohibited under pain of provoking an explosion capable of destroying an entire town. Judging from all the available evidence, it would also seem that the ancients were also intimately familiar with the concept of flying, and that the topic of ancient flight is actually way more complicated than just similar stories of sky gods descending to earth and establishing various cultures. People all over the world also seem to have retained separate memories of a period when aviation was a well-known concept and flight was a frequent occurrence. There are numerous tales of ancient kings using airships to get around. What is more, their writings demonstrate knowledge of aerodynamics and an awareness of the factors of takeoff propulsion, braking, and landing. These ancient books give instructions in great detail, including pictographic texts of how to build and fly various kinds of aircrafts, as well as covering their multitude of uses, including fighting wars and even space travel. Many aerodynamic artifacts that look like miniature planes have been found in various tombs in South America. In addition, there are giant petroglyph drawings like the Nazca lines found in various places on the globe that are situated skyward and can only be seen and appreciated from the air. Culture with the most evidence concerning ancient flying machines, though, has to be India. Many ancient Vedic writings are concerned with stories of various aspects of aircrafts, including construction and usage. In fact, the Sanskrit term Vimana Vidya means the science of building and piloting airships. A 3,000-year-old Indian text entitled Vaimanika Shastra, meaning the science of aeronautics, has 8 chapters with diagrams on the construction of 3 different types of aircraft. It included the design for a helicopter-type cargo plane and drawings for double and triple decker passenger planes for as many as 500 people. It included plans for an aircraft that flew in the air, traveled underwater, or floated pontoon-like on the water. Information covers everything from the qualifications and training of pilots to instructions on how to make the aircraft invisible to enemies, zigzag in the sky like a serpent, paralyze other aircraft, create the illusion of a star-spangled sky, and even list proportions of certain chemicals which will envelop the aircraft and give it the appearance of a cloud. This is but a small sample of the wealth of available evidence, yet it is already perfectly obvious that the ancients were undoubtedly familiar with flight. However, according to an ancient document from Tibet, we aren't supposed to know this because the knowledge of the flying machines is secret and not for the masses. There is a wealth of evidence that supports the idea that the ancients had access to and used many forms of advanced weaponry, including ancient bullet holes in the skulls of not only a 38,000-year-old Neanderthal, but also an Auric bison which went extinct over 100,000 years ago. Both have perfectly round holes with no radial split lines around the hole or other marks that should have been left by a cold weapon such as an arrow or a spear. The difference is that the Neanderthal skull, on the side opposite the hole, the cranium is shattered, and reconstruction of the fragments show the skull was blown from the inside out. But the Oryx wound had partially calcified over and healed the edges of the wound, indicating it survived the shot. Besides these skulls, there is a lot of evidence that the ancients possessed not just guns, but a multitude of other kinds of deadly weapons, including chemical and biological warfare, laser weapons, napalm-like and H-bombs, and what they called flying spears that could ruin whole cities. Are these missiles with nuclear warheads? Could this really be possible? Well, evidence proves that the ancients somehow knew about the infinitely small. In fact, the atomic theory was known in Egypt, and the pits used to preserve corpses contained highly radioactive substances. In the Indian Bharat-Sathaka, we find reference to the Kashta, equivalent to 3/100 millionths of a second, and at the other extreme the Kalpa, a period of 4.32 billion years. The only phenomena in nature that can be measured in billions of years or in millionths of a second are the disintegration rates of radioisotopes. But here's the really scary part. Researchers have recently rediscovered a number of documents translated last century, buried in incomprehensible terms until modern knowledge caught up with former knowledge and was able to recognize it. These very ancient documents contain what is now startling familiar language, and their contents are quite alarming. Here are eyewitness reports that raise the compelling question: did nuclear war wipe out large sections of the civilized world in the 3rd millennium BC? An Indian text recounts in detail how aircraft were used to launch a weapon that devastated 3 cities. The record is unnervingly similar to an eyewitness report of an atomic bomb explosion. It describes in detail the brightness of the blast, the column of rising smoke and fire, the fallout, the intense shock waves and heat waves. It also chronicled the appearance of the numerous victims and the effects of radiation poisoning on the surviving people, animals, and even the food supply. The war zone is in the upper regions of the Ganges, precisely in the region specified in the old records between the Ganges and the Rajamahal Mountains. There are numerous charred ruins. The indications are that these ruins were not burned by ordinary fire and appear as huge masses fused together with deeply pitted surfaces caused by fires which were hot enough to liquefy rock or metal. Further south are more such ruins. The walls have been glazed, corroded, and split by tremendous heat. In some buildings, even the surfaces of the stone furniture have been vitrified or melted, then crystallized. In the same region, a human skeleton was found with radioactivity 50 times above the normal level. The ruins of the ancient Indus Valley cities of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa are immense. They are thought to have contained well over 1 million people each, yet they had effective sewage removal systems and almost every house had a bathroom. Practically nothing is known of their histories except that both were destroyed suddenly. In Mohenjo-daro, in an epicenter 150 feet wide, everything was crystallized, fused, or melted. 180 feet from the center, the bricks are melted on one side, indicating a blast. Ancient Indian texts speak of a city's people being given 7 days to get out, a clear warning of total destruction. Excavations down to the street level revealed 44 scattered skeletons, as if doom had come so suddenly they could not get into their houses. All the skeletons were flattened to the ground. A father, mother, and child were found flattened in the street, face down and still holding hands. The skeletons, after thousands of years, are still among the most radioactive that have ever been found, on par with those of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And here's something else. Did you know that when the first atomic bomb exploded in New Mexico, the desert sand turned to fused green glass? Only a nuclear explosion could produce an entire layer, a whole stratum of fused green glass. Yet they can be found in multiple other places on Earth, like ancient Babylonia and some Old and Middle Kingdom sites in Egypt as well. The Tibetan stanzas of Zayan regarding the area of Gobi, Mongolia, depict a holocaust engulfing two warring nations. The desert surface of the Gobi near Lobnor Lake is covered with vitreous sand from Red China's atomic tests, but the desert has certain areas of similar glassy sand which have been present for thousands of years. Here, too, there are ruins, almost formless, that bear the marks of blistering by enormous heat. Other similar ruins can be found in countries including Scotland, France, Iraq, and Brazil. Okay, up until this point you have learned some incredibly amazing yet deeply disturbing things. However, the most astonishing and suppressed archaeological secret of them all is the existence of ancient cities, temples, and inexplicable tunnel systems, part natural and part artificial, beneath the surface of the greater part of the earth, with many supposedly containing perpetual light sources. Probably the most well-known example of an underground dwelling comes from Turkey, where over 200 underground cities, at least 2 levels deep, have been discovered, with around 40 of those having at least 3 levels and some many more. The biggest, Derinkuyu, is a maze of connecting chambers that descended at least 18 stories and 280 feet beneath the surface, ample enough to hold 30,000 people, and much remains to be excavated. One tunnel, wide enough for 3 people walking abreast, connects to another underground town 6 miles away. Other passages suggest that at one time all of Cappadocia above and below the ground was linked by a hidden network. Available evidence suggests that this was not an isolated occurrence, but rather a global trend. In fact, many vast tunnels have been explored and are proven to extend for thousands of miles. Stories of mysterious subway systems have persisted for thousands of years and exist in the legends, folklore, and myths of almost every country around the globe. There are descriptions by African travelers of vast tunnels all over the continent, like the huge tunnel, 30 miles of which has been explored, that runs under the sea between Morocco and Spain. Europe has a vast network of subterranean passages, including approximately 100 found to exist throughout the country of France alone. A Mongolian legend claims that there's a system of tunnels in Afghanistan that are lit up by a green luminescence and that link up with all other tunnels around the world. Tibetan lamas once showed the American traveler R.C. Anderson a very old map of underground passages connecting North and South America, Europe, and Africa. Artificial labyrinths are also known to stretch under vast areas of Central Asia and China. An immense temple lies underground in Hawaii, and tunnels are believed to link each of the islands. In North America, there too are many traditions and legends among Alaskan Eskimos and various Native American Indian cultures like the Apache, the Mandan, and Sioux that mention and describe vast underground tunnels, labyrinths, and cities, many believed to still be inhabited and lit by a perpetual light. Further south, a gigantic system of interlocking tunnels thousands of miles in length extends under Ecuador and Peru and connects Lima to Cuzco, then goes on to Bolivia or the sea. Indeed, thousands of miles of tunnels have been explored and measured. The weight of evidence suggests that whatever the reason, there were once whole cities linked by an elaborate complex of tunnels that were constructed in ways beyond our present capability. Is there any modern evidence that the dragon bloodlines that helped to advance these ancient cultures and gave them such amazingly rich histories are still around today? Well, the answer is a resounding yes, and it is right in front of you everywhere you look. But to see it, you must first know to be looking, and second, you must understand what it is you are looking at. One of the best sources concerning these ancient bloodlines is Prince Nicholas de Vere von Drakenberg. Because Nicholas's father and mother had contempt for human beings and human society as a whole, at the age of 7, Nicholas's family moved to the remote outskirts of the Kentish village of Kemsing, and then later to isolated rural settings in Devon and Sussex. As he was growing up, Nicholas's father taught him of the family's royal Scottish origins and of its involvement with royal witchcraft within the dragon tradition, which had been passed down to Nicholas's father by his own parents. Nicholas's father was gifted with the king's touch. His paternal grandmother, a Scottish Gael, was a skilled seer. Nicholas grew up and developed in isolation, detached from the vacuity of human culture, enveloped in a world of intellectualism, magic, mysticism, and imagination. At the age of 12, he was magically dedicated to the dragon tradition formally, and since then he has participated in many of the most ancient rites and rituals, and has been bestowed many various prestigious titles. His family's hereditary involvement in royal witchcraft and the dragon tradition is officially acknowledged, and he is recognized as a royal dragon prince by the House of Vere, as well as by the British government. He is considered the original magical prince, the rightful king of witches by familial inheritance, whose ancient royal blood lineage is unquestionable, tracing through well over 120 imperial and royal bloodlines going back over 5,000 years. As one of the few documented members of this bloodline in the world, he is uniquely qualified to understand some of the deepest human secrets and reveal them to us. His extensive work and ongoing research continues to reveal many deep secrets about our origins and true nature. He has authored books like The Dragon Seed and The Dragon Legacy. He has many websites available as well. Today he is the sovereign of the Dragon Court of the Royal House of Vere. On the Dragon Court website it says, "The Imperial and Royal Dragon Court and Order has existed since the very dawn of creation. It was founded by Earth's first rulers and teachers of the path to enlightenment, who are known variously as Enki and the Anunnaki, the sons of God, and as Sanat Kumara and the Kumaras, founders of the Great White Brotherhood. Historically, the Dragon Court was situated in Central Asia, Egypt, Sumeria, China, India, and Persia, where ancient dragon priest kings ruled over their beloved subjects, teaching them the dragon mysteries of alchemy and gnosis. The Imperial and Royal Dragon Court is currently under the administration of HRH Prince Nicholas de Vere von Drakenberg with the International Council of Princes. It is situated in Wales and the incorporeal and transnational sovereign duchy of Drakenberg. Our goal is to preserve and demystify the dragon mysteries, reunite those of the dragon blood, and to assist during this crucial shift in the ages with the planetary dissemination of the dragon path. The Imperial and Royal Dragon Court is a closed fraternity of individuals fronted by those who trace their ancestry and affiliations back to the ancient Grail and dragon families. We dragon are humanoid, morphologically similar but neurologically and psychologically different. Ultra-terrestrial simply means a capacity for living simultaneously in multiple dimensions of experience. Furthermore, the royal and ambassadorial nature of the title of the Prince of Drakenberg is recognized under the official observations of the Department of Internal Affairs of the government of its state of origin within the European Union. Documents pertaining to its sovereign status are held in government archives. The Chancellor of this Imperial and Royal Court of the Dragon Sovereignty, Sir Lawrence Gardner, is also an internationally known sovereign and chivalric genealogy.